All right, guys, so today I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown on this Radian build that I've been working on. Bought the receiver set, didn't really plan on buying all these parts as fast as I did, but I've just found I found good deals on them. Um, the optic system was something I was really on the fence about. I wasn't sure what optic system I was going to go with. And just like almost everything that I buy in my life, it just kind of fell in my lap. So I'll go over the optic system first because that's kind of what got me started on building it. Like I said, I kind of pushed the boundaries of my budget and my wallet here lately, but I found this ADM Recon, and I'm not a huge fan of the vertical clamshell type mounts, but I did find this one on sale for $200. It was the titanium levered one. This is the ADM, or American Defense Manufacturing Recon M, with titanium levers. And from what I understand, the titanium levers, meant the bolts are titanium, the clamps are titanium, the levers themselves are titanium. I think there's a roll pin right in here that might be steel, but you actually save about 1.6 ounces, and it's only about $20 more. So if it's worth it to you to save that 1.6 ounces, I say go ahead and go for it. I like the tack levers. Standard levers are just fine. I have standard levers on a couple of other products of mine as well. But I figured I'd go ahead and try out this ADM Recon mount. I know there's somebody that makes an offset red dot mount that goes on the bottom, and the Valhalla Tactical makes a hanger mount that you can replace one of these clamshells with, which I might try as well. So, but I picked a medium mount because I'm kind of trying to decide what the preferred optic height for me is going to be. And you have absolute co-witness, which is at like 1.4 inches. Height over bore, you have lower 1/3, which is like 1.5. That's actually my preferred optic height. This is in between a 193 and a lower 1/3. This one sits at like, I want to say between like 1.6 inches and 1.7 inches, which I feel like it's a good compromise between lower 1/3 and not having to turtle your neck down in order to get, a good cheek weld, and so you can, get a nice good eye relief and eye box on your LPVO. And it's not too high, where sometimes I feel like the 193 and even the 226, unless you're running like a gas mask or uh, night vision and stuff, like the 223 is quite high. 193 is still feels a little bit high depending on the mount, but I'm thinking that this is going to be a really good mounting solution for those looking for a little bit higher than lower 1/3. I think LaRue makes a mount that's like 1.6 or 1.7 inches as well, but I wish more scope mounting manufacturers, or even optics like your red dots and stuff, made something in the 1.6 or 1.7 range. I'm sure you can get risers to get it into that range as well, but I just like having one piece of kit that gets me to that optic height. So I'm going to test that out, see how well it works. But from what I can tell, just with getting a good cheek weld and the eye box with this particular LPVO, which is a Trijicon HX, or Trijicon Credo HX 1:6, second focal plane, 223 BDC in green. And again, it kind of fell in my lap. I've been looking at these particular LPVOs or scopes for a while. They've always been in about the, I want to say like $800 to $900 price range. Found one for $750 brand new, and then I had like a 12% off coupon, bumping this down to like $690. I really, really couldn't turn it down for $690. Like, I was looking at a Delta Striker, which is a very similar scope. And I was even looking at another Vortex Viper PST Gen 2, as I really think that's a good scope for the money, especially at $500. and I can get that with the mount. So I sold my other mounts for my Vortex scopes for like 50 bucks a piece. So let's call it 450 bucks. I'm getting those Vortex Viper PSTs for. But this is Japanese glass, just like our Vortex Razor HD Gen 2. The reticle is very similar to the Viper and the Razor Gen 2. And the only downside to this particular model is that it is the green version. I would have preferred the red, but I feel like that's why it was so inexpensive. Like, it definitely doesn't get as bright as the red. I know somebody that has the red. That one gets very, very bright. I really don't feel like the green version is quite as bright, but if I'm being honest, I don't really utilize the the light up function or the illumination function of LPVOs all that much. I just use the regular reticle system. It's nice to have that feature, but not super important to me. And then the scope itself has a built-in throw lever in it, which is nice. Unlike Vortex, which you basically have to spend another $60, $50 for a throw lever, but it's just like this little nub that you just screw in right here. This is the only place you can screw in the nub. I'm not entirely sure what that's for, but it does not screw in there. And this is probably maybe to do a little bit of maintenance on the ring and stuff. So, but it is a very smooth action. Like I said, it is Japanese glass out of, I forget what factory it is, but I think it's the same factory as the Delta Striker and the Vortex Razor type glass. It's a nice scope. It's definitely a nice scope. The turrets they don't feel as good to me as Vortexes, and I don't think they're as low profile as Vortexes, but you can hear and feel it. Detents are very good on it. And then the illumination has offsettings in between each one, which is nice. I actually prefer that feature on most of my LPVOs if it has an illumination function. So I'm quite happy with the optic setup on this. I just prefer LPVOs. They're just good, do it all around good optic. I don't do any one thing great, but it works for me. I feel like 1 to 6 is a really good scope magnification range. 1 to 8 sometimes can get a little bit tight. 1 to 10s definitely get super tight. And like if you bump this all the way up to 6, it's like super clear. Sometimes the 1 to 8s, the 1 to 10s, they're not as crisp and clear at higher magnifications, and that's actually what you want at a higher magnification range. So if you can get this for like the 690 range, I highly recommend it. So it seems to be a very, very good scope. So the stock I chose was a Magpul SLS stock. And I was watching Hop's little review on Magpul stocks, and he absolutely hates the stock. Not entirely sure why. I'll probably end up running a mod light on this, or I'll probably change out one of my full-size Arasaka lights out for this, and I'm looking at like buying a smaller like mod light for another setup. But if you're running like a flashlight system that runs 18650s or CR123s, I mean, I kind of like the ability to run CR123s in a little storage compartment. And he's worried about the rattle. What you end up doing, or what I end up doing, is I'll take latex gloves, right? I cut off the fingers, and I'll stick the batteries in there, and then you stick them in here, right? And that keeps it from rattling. Not a big deal, all right? So I don't really care about the rattle. Plus, I can keep it from rattling. I like the ability of having extra batteries on hand if I need them. Yes, I can keep them on a belt. I can keep them on a chest rig. The only downside, especially with 18650s, is that they're lithium ion. If lithium ions get compromised or wet, they can be very dangerous. Like they catch fire. So having them in a little compartment that's water sealed is quite nice. The adjustment lever, it's very low profile. It's non-invasive. The action is smooth on it. It's got a very tight fit and lockup. There's absolutely no play in that stock to receiver extension. It's got QDs on both sides on in a position that I do like. And then you actually have the ability to run just a regular wrap a sling around there. Got a nice rubberized butt pad on it. It's a little bit angled at the bottom. Like, I don't get why he hates this stock so much. I think it's a good stock. So this is actually one of my better stocks that I've tested here recently. I like it over like B5. Trying to think of what else. I like it over Daniel Defense. I like it over a lot of other Magpul stocks. I like this over the CTR, especially. I picked this up for 50 bucks. It was like 56 bucks, but let's call it like 55. 55 bucks for this stock, I think, is a really good price. So I'll probably end up trying these stocks out a little bit more, to be honest with you. I might change out a couple of my other builds with these stocks, because the cheek weld is super nice on there. Nice and thick. It doesn't have any openings where it could catch your beard. I don't have a beard, but I know that's a problem for people. And yeah, like I said, I don't really understand why Hop dislikes that stock so much. The receiver extension I ended up going with is a primary weapon system. It's a nice receiver extension. This is probably like the Cadillac of receiver extensions. Came with their ratcheting castle nut end plate. The only thing I don't like about this ratcheting castle nut end plate, it's a little difficult to get off. I wish they made it a little bit easier. I know castle nuts aren't really designed to be taken on and off and stuff like that. I do like to tinker, so I like to have that ability. But that's why I prefer the Fortis K2s over this system a little bit more. They're just a little bit easier to get off. I've never had one back out on me and stuff either. And I mean, I can stake it too, but you know, I just don't, because we have stuff like this out here now. So the buffer system with the castle nut end plate cost me about 86 bucks. So it wasn't too bad. And then went with a Magpul K2 Plus grip on here, which is my preferred grip on the market. I ended up paying full price, like 20 bucks for these. I can usually find them for 15, but I just kind of wanted the grip in the same package that I got, like my scope, my mount, and my stock and everything. So I just went ahead and ordered the grip. And then I also ordered, I'll show that the weapon is clear, even though I don't have a barrel in here. I know range officers and stuff might get a little upset. I tried out this Hyperfire trigger. This is a Hyperfire. I think it's like a XS Mod 2 or something. Mod 1. This is a Mod 1. It's a 2-stage trigger, right? The reset isn't as good as a Geisley, like G2S or SSA or SSAE. It's about on par with a LaRue. But it's a nice trigger. I found this for about 150 bucks. I figured I'd try a Hyperfire trigger out. One thing that I do like about the Hyperfire trigger, this isn't your typical, I mean, it is kind of a mil-spec one. And just so you know, this receiver set, it's super tight. Obviously, you can see that I've been able to properly put it together, but it is not easy to get off. So, all right, so here's the receiver, here's the trigger, and you can see these springs. They call it a cam over toggle engine and stuff. So let's just show that you can see how much play you have when it's unsafe. But I don't want this to fall on my finger, because it's really hard to push this hammer back until you get about halfway, about right here. Then it feels like a regular mil-spec hammer, right? It drops super hard. And I put the red springs in because the red springs I'm getting about a 3.5 pound trigger pull on. And with the green springs, I got about a 2.5 pound pull. So I actually prefer a little bit heavier pull. But this wasn't the easiest to install. But once you install it once, you understand how it goes in, and it's actually not hard after that. So to kind of give you a little bit of a preview, right, you got this little system here. You have to push down on that, and then while you're pushing down, you have to pull it up to get it over this little area right here, and then you lift this portion up. It's got two legs that hold the springs. You lift it up kind of parallel with the hammer, and it should come right out. And actually, you could run it without this cam over toggle engine. Like, I was dry firing it without it, so it works without it. It just offers a little more hammer tension. You can see it working there. It just makes it so that hammer drops super hard. So I figured I'd give it a shot. I've been super impressed with Hyperfire triggers. I actually think Hyperfire is kind of underrated. So I don't see a lot of people running or talking about Hyperfire triggers. I quite like Hyperfire triggers. I think they're good. The two-stage one's no different. They make single stages if you're looking for something similar. And then they have ones without this came over toggle engine, like their EDTs and stuff, which are about 70, 80 bucks, something like that. This trigger, like I said, was 150 bucks. So not inexpensive by any means, but I think it's about on par with most two-stage triggers, in my opinion. I did end up going with an Armaspec silent capture spring. This is the Gen 3. I have nothing but Gen 2s, but I've been nothing but impressed with these Armaspec stealth recoil springs. You're actually able to completely disassemble this and do maintenance on it. It's a really good system. I usually run Geisley Super 42s and stuff, but I don't know. I'm all about supporting companies that make good products. And so far, I've been super impressed with these Armaspec stealth recoil springs. So you can see how that kind of works right there. Won't work with a like loft folder or anything, so just kind of keep that in mind. You don't have to put your buffer detent in there if you don't want to. I just choose not to run it right now, just because I don't have a barrel in it right now. I'll probably put one in later, just because. But I don't know. I quite like them. I haven't tried a JP silent captured spring, but these are half the price of a JP, and I think they're good. I think they're good. They're reliable. They're good. Now you can do complete maintenance on them. I recommend them. So I think they're good. And then the bolt carrier group. Actually, I'm going with a Sharps Rifle Company bolt carrier group, and so I know people give me a lot of crap about not running just straight magnesium phosphate coated mil-spec bolt carrier groups. And I want to ask people, why do you find, like, okay, I know that mil-spec bolt carrier groups are just like this one. Let me turn it around here. This is an ADM bolt carrier group that I had laying around that I switched out for a Sharps Rifle Company bolt carrier group. How are we running bolt carrier groups that are 60 years old, right? I understand that they've worked for 60 years just fine, sure. But I'm not running mil-spec stuff anymore. This is not a mil-spec lower. This is not a mil-spec upper. This isn't a mil-spec handguard. This isn't a mil-spec mount. This isn't a mil-spec stock. This isn't a mil-spec receiver extension. This isn't a mil-spec Hasselnut or end plate. You get where I'm going? Like, a decent, like, mil-spec bolt carrier group like BCM, those are $220 bolt carrier groups. Magnesium phosphate coated, chrome lined, like good tolerances. I think that they put, you know, they use the exact same coatings and materials and tolerances that mil spec is, right? Like it is genuinely mil spec. But you know, people are like, oh, you don't need and they're right. You're right. That you don't need a enhanced bolt carrier group or a Gucci bolt carrier group. I've never had an issue with Sharps Rifle Company's bolt carrier groups, and if I do, guess what? They have a lifetime warranty on them. I'm not entirely sure BCM has a lifetime warranty on their bolt carrier groups. I picked up the Sharps Rifle Company bolt carrier group. I had like a ton of points saved up, and they were running a sale on their DLC bolt carrier group. I ended up buying that bolt carrier group for like 110 bucks. That's what it cost me. That's why I picked it up. And I didn't pick it up because I think it's the best bolt carrier group on the market. I picked it up because it's a good bolt carrier group, and it was 110 bucks. I was going to pick up a Microbest full chromed bolt carrier group, but it ended up selling out. That was also 110 bucks. So I said, screw it. I'll just buy the Sharps. So I just don't understand why people are so hesitant to utilize non-mil-spec bolt carrier groups like the Lantac or the Sharps or coated ones like titanium nitride or nitrided or DLC or whatever, cryptic coatings. I seriously don't understand it, but they're perfectly okay with running suppressors and suppressor mounts that aren't mil spec. They're completely fine with running these like Gucci Optic setups that are completely not mil spec. Like they're literally running non mil spec stuff on everything else but the bolt carrier groups. Like I understand the bolt carrier groups are heart and soul, but at that point they should be running like GI handled and A2 grips and stocks, because I mean those have worked just fine. Those have worked for 60 years too. Like that's the thinking behind it. The barrel system, like the government profile barrel, it's not the best profile barrel. They've been using that barrel profile for decades too. Are we going to just stick with government profiled barrel systems? No. I think the core series or a tapered design for the barrel system is a much better system. We've also learned about gas port sizing on barrels as well. We've also learned of gas blocks and how to ensure that we have as little gas leak as possible, stuff like that. But bolt carrier groups, man, people get really, really anal about just using nothing but magnesium phosphated mil-spec bolt carrier groups. But went off on a little tangent on bolt carrier groups, but it's well needed because every time I have a discussion with somebody about bolt carrier groups, I mean, they give me such a hard time that I would use my hard-earned money for a non-mil-spec bolt carrier group. But I'm like, but everything else you're running on your system is non-mil-spec. So why are we just running mil-spec bolt carrier groups? I don't know. Kind of like to know your thoughts on that too. So maybe I'm just tripping. I don't know. But anyway, so barrel system, my barrel hasn't come in stock yet. I'm about to just back order it. It's probably going to take about 6 or 8 weeks after I order it, but I've spent so much money on everything else basically that it's going to take me another like 2 or 3 weeks to be able to save enough money for the barrel and the gas block. I'm going to go with a 14.5-inch Criterion core with a Badger Ordnance gas block. So I think that will be ideal. I already have my mid-length gas tube. It's a melanited gas tube from Aero Precision, but I'll probably end up running a Surefire War Comp on the end. Probably try closed tined. And after this build, I think I'm done with builds for a while because I just gotta quit buying lowers. But man, I've always just wanted a Radian build. You know what I mean? A Radian Model 1, and I think I'll be okay. But I say that, and then I'll probably find like an LMT Defender or like a Knight's Armament SR-15 or something for just a price that I can't turn down. Don't get me wrong, I want like a Type A Pro and a Blackout Defense, honestly. It looks like a pretty sweet system. I mean, there's a lot of different AR-15s that I like out there. But man, this is a damned expensive hobby, guys. If I buy a lower or I really like, I don't know, I got my heart set on it, I just end up doing it. So um, I think I'm doing a good job on this build. Wasn't quite sure what bolt carrier group I was going to use, and then I got an email from Sharp saying, "Hey, our DLC bolt carrier groups are like 160 bucks," and I had all these extra points laying around. And I was like, "Well, how much can I take off?" And it took off like an extra 50 or 60 bucks off it. I'm like, "Well, shit, I can't really turn down a Sharps Rifle Company bolt for 110 bucks." And then I mean, I kind of had my heart set on a Criterion Core 14.5 inch, but I thought about like a Daniel Defense or a Noveski barrel, or I was going to buy a nice barrel for this system for sure. So I'm probably just going to go with Criterion. Criterion seems to be the best bang for the buck if you're looking for a really, really nice barrel. So I think Hodge is like way overrated. Proof, I mean, I'm not really shooting competitions or designing these weapon systems for competition, so I'm not going to use a proof research barrel. Criterion is definitely proven for duty. And I meant so is Daniel Defense. Geisley, I'm not entirely sure. I know that they bought their Cold Hammer forgings here recently. I don't know how tested they are, but I'm sure that they're decent barrels. Noveski is definitely proven. I mean, you've got a whole slew of decent barrel manufacturers, Spikes, FN, but I don't know, man. I think Criterion is probably the best bang for the buck, in my opinion. I've got a Daniel Defense Cold Hammer Forged barrel. I've got a Geisley Cold Hammer Forged barrel. I've got two Criterion barrels now. I've been really impressed with Criterion barrels, and they're only like 280 bucks, and they actually hand lap their barrels, which is more than what Daniel Defense or Geisley does. Granted, they're not Cold Hammer forged; they're still chrome lined, but I think their gas port sizes are a little bit smaller, which one could argue makes it a little bit less reliable. But I don't think that's going to be the case if you get the right gas block system that allows a good gas seal and stuff. So, but that's just my 2 cents on parts and stuff. So, but that's kind of where this build is headed. So, and just like any good build, a good build deserves a good magazine. Lancer mags all day. I picked up a 20-pack of these Lancer mags. They were 12 bucks a piece with free shipping and no tax. So 20 mags ended up costing me like 240 bucks at the end of the day. I'm not too mad about that. I definitely say stock up on magazines. Magazines are probably going to be something, at least full capacity standard magazines are going to be something, if you can buy them, that gun grabbers and gun controllers will be coming after here soon, in my opinion. So magazines are wearable items, or parts that wear that you throw away. I keep about 40 or 50 loaded magazines on hand at all times, and I also keep about 40 or 50 unloaded magazines still in their package and stuff. Still in their package and stuff, just on hand. That's just one box of them. Because they do wear. Springs wear out. You might drop it and lose it. They might break. There's a whole slew of reasons why you want to keep extra magazines on hand. So without a magazine, your gun won't work. Or without a working magazine, your gun won't work. And definitely without ammunition, your gun won't work. So you can have all the Gucciest, nicest AR-15s in the world. If you don't have ammo, if you don't have magazines, and definitely if you don't know how to utilize the weapon system, it's going to be kind of useless, more or less. So get out there, get training, invest into your system. And I'm not talking about parts. Invest your time, invest ammunition. It is expensive to feed a weapon system. but I highly encourage people to get out there and just burn through ammo. Like the more you shoot, the more you understand the recoil impulse, the more you understand your AR-15, your carbine, your weapon system, your bolt action, your pistol, whatever it is that you want to utilize for protection or for defense. Use it, understand it, know how the weapon system works, know what parts go with what, know what works well for you. Go ahead, try out different things, but understand parts aren't going to make you a better shooter. Only time and ammunition, time down range, shooting more, understanding concepts, knowing your holds, and just getting out there and learning more is going to make you a better shooter. So I don't know. That's my little rant on being a better shooter, learning to be a better shooter. That is your responsibility as a individual. It is not up to YouTube to teach you how to do this. It is not up to me to teach you how to do this. It is up to you. And I don't know about you, but I want to be the best that I can be when it comes to my own defense. And then I want to be at the apps, like I care less about me than I do about, you know, my family and kids and things. So just understand that when you're investing your time, it's not just for you, it's for other people too, especially if you're a family man, especially if you have other people that you worry about. So get out there and train, guys. I can't iterate that enough. I know other gun tubers say the same thing. Get out there and train, buy ammunition, don't be afraid. So the gun never hurt anybody without somebody behind it pulling a trigger. Just remember that. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and join me next time.